Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Horror Hangout Bitesize. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm going to be talking about a movie that I've been meaning to watch for a long, long time, and I've never got around to it, but I did for the first time fairly recently, and I've got some stuff to say. Got some stuff to share my opinion on this movie, and the movie of focus for this particular mini review is The Stuff. It's also known as Larry Cohen's The Stuff, apparently, because Larry Cohen directed it and he's gone, why don't we call this film Larry Cohen's The Stuff? And they've gone, Larry, listen, calling it The Stuff probably makes a lot more sense. No one really knows what the stuff is when they're going into it. So calling it Larry Cohen's The Stuff is adding another layer of uncertainty to the scenario. No. Anyway, it's a 1985 American satirical science fiction horror film written and directed by Larry Cohen. That's right. Starring Michael Moriarty, Garrett Morris, Andrea Marcovicci, and Paul Sorvino. In the film, a sweet and addictive alien substance becomes a popular dessert in the United States, but soon begins attacking people and turning them into zombies. The film is a satire on the American lifestyle and consumer society. Because that's it, isn't it? The consumer society, they just eat anything. Any old muck will become the flavor of the week. And this stuff, which is the only real way to describe it, is like it looks like yogurt, sort of like white yogurt, a bit like toothpaste. A white cream-like alien substance, it is also described as here. It doesn't seem very appetizing to me, and I am the kind of person who enjoys a yogurt. I enjoy something like that, and I enjoy like a Greek yogurt or sort of like a plain probiotic yogurt or something like that. I enjoy a creamy-like substance. I think the thing that's kind of wrong with this is it comes in such a huge tub that it almost seems like too much to consume in one go. Sure, if you've got a big old tub of yogurt, you might have a couple of spoonfuls, a little bit of it on your fruit and granola, but you're not going to be eating the whole tub. People are shoveling this stuff down the neck like anyone's business. It makes me feel a little bit sick because it kind of looks like mayonnaise a bit, I guess, as well. And I don't really like mayonnaise, especially when the mayonnaise is like super, super white, because it's almost like, I don't know, something strange about that just doesn't feel like something I should be consuming. I think I'm just the same with all types of sort of brightly colored condiments. Not really a mustard guy. Ketchup's my worst enemy. I like a sauce, but not so much a condiment. But yeah, this is weird. The fact that this becomes like the top selling dessert product. This is the thing. At least if somebody described what it tasted like, I could maybe start to understand why it's affecting people. I know it's because it's supposed to be like an alien thing, that it's taking over people's mind and kind of making them want more and turning them into brain dead zombies. Well, not brain dead, but some of them, I guess. This is such a weird film. Such a weird film. I found it is a very odd watch. Tonally, it's kind of like all over the place. It presents itself as like being some sort of horror movie or satirical movie in a way, I guess, like They Live. It could put sort of having a go at the consumer society. You're all the same, you lot. There's a billboard up there. It's telling you exactly what to buy. You're an idiot. You're blind to everything. Take off the sunglasses, mate. Put them on. Put them on. Put on the sunglasses. See the truth. And I kind of get that, but it's also like a weird sort of like quirky, light-hearted sort of like adventure film, and it's got like some comedic elements as well. But I think because the tone was so all over the place, and it didn't feel I didn't feel like it knew what kind of film it wanted to be. I found it really hard to get invested in it. So I've seen it compared to things like The Blob and the remake of The Blob, the 1988 one, which is a great film. I love that film. It's got comedic elements, but it's not afraid to be utterly brutal and gory and disgusting. Whereas this film, I don't think it ever fully leans into the horror and the gore as much as it could. There's some like effects, some gore effects, some body horror effects you can see in this background behind me. of like the stuff coming out of people's mouths and eyes and ears, and like people's heads getting bent into weird shapes and stretched and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just never ever really felt like there was a genuine threat from the stuff. Of course, I mean, of course, yeah, it's horrible and it is killing people and it is affecting people's minds and everything like that because it's so addictive and it is some sort of alien. But I don't know. With the blob, it was like, oh, geez, you couldn't get away from this blob. It'd slurp you off and turn you into mush. It was killing kids in the Blob remake. It was terrifying. There was no way to get away with it. I feel like with the stuff, you just close the door and get away from it or not eat it, which is what a kid in this movie does, just doesn't eat it. And I don't know, the cast is kind of weird. So Michael Moriarty is essentially like the lead, and I don't really know him from much, but he is a very strange guy in this. He's got a strange sort of like role in this movie. He's like an investigator who's investigating what was it? No. He's a former FBI agent turned industrial saboteur. So he's hired by leaders of like companies to go in and like get to the bottom of, you know, rival companies and their products and find out what's going on and maybe like, yeah, sabotage it. Just chuck some, I don't know, arsenic into the mixture, something like that. Such a weird character. I didn't know where I was coming or going. It has a bit like a romantic connection as well. I don't believe that he's like any sort of action hero or his ability as like someone he punches a few people, shoots some guns. I just don't believe it. His ability as this man of all trades, even though, yeah, former FBI agent, I just don't believe it. And his name's David Rutherford, right? And he goes, but my friends call me Mo. And they go, oh, why is that? Because when people give me money, I just want Mo. Sorry? What does that mean? It sounds like a nickname you're giving yourself. Mo money, Mo problems. You've just gone, nah, but my friends call me Mo. I bet one person called you Mo. The thing is with you, you want more money. When I give you money, you want more. And he's gone, what did you say? I want more. Mo? I want Mo? That's a great nickname. Weird. Very, very strange. But yeah, the cast is just all a bit strange. There's Andrea Marcovicci, who's like the director of like an advert for this, and she gets dragged into it as well. There's like a boy and his family are the boy and his family being taken over by the stuff, and he doesn't fully believe it. I like all of the connotations that are attached to that, you know. Oh, this stuff's bloody disgusting. I don't want to eat it. You got to eat it. It's good for you. It's good for you. No, I will not. It's zombifying your brains. I like that. And the kid, like, he knows what he likes, you know what I mean? And we all did when we were kids. There's like this junk food mogul guy called Charles W. Chocolate Chip Charlie Hobbs. Now, he is a man of color, and I feel like it is mentioned the fact that he's a man of color so many times in this film. And yeah, it's a bit tongue in cheek, but it's some of that stuff is like aged a bit. The general or the colonel, sorry, played by Paul Sorvino, like mentions it a few times, and it's definitely just one of those things where you're just a bit like, okay, 1985. Sometimes you watch a film like this and you go, all right, I get it, it's 1985, but still doesn't make me feel any less grubby about it. But it starts really weird. So there's like these quarry workers in Georgia. They discover just in the snow on the ground this white creamy alien substance like bubbling out of the ground. And one of the guys just goes over, sticks his bloody finger in it and tastes it and goes, ooh, that's bloody delicious. That is absolutely delightful. Come over here, Dave, and have a little taste. And he like feeds it to him on his finger, which is funny. I enjoyed that. It was funny. And obviously you think if you saw that on the ground, you wouldn't immediately stick your finger in and taste it. You'd assume it was some sort of chemical or other substance. I guess there's sort of like an idea that maybe because of this weird alien substance that it like draws people in somehow. Don't know if it's like some sort of mind control or something like that. And I'm not really sure exactly how it happens or what happens, but the stuff ends up being sold to the general public as like the next big thing in desserts. It's the next big thing. Forget ice cream, forget cheesecake, forget profiteroles, jelly. Forget that. Forget that. It's the stuff, and they just call it the stuff. Obviously, marketing get their hands on it, and they go, nothing that distinguishing about this stuff. And someone's gone, yes, that's it. Stop right there. Stop. Just call it the stuff. And yeah, it becomes a nationwide craze with like adverts, and it's got like its own theme tune, or like jingle, sorry. And the jingle, it's got more than one jingle, actually. There's more than one jingle. It's not very catchy. It's just too much going on in it, if anything. It's like meandering. It's almost like a pop song. It's too much. It drastically hurts the sales of ice cream. So this is where David Rutherford, is hired by the leaders of the suffering ice cream industry. Can you imagine it? Who have we got? We got Ben, we got Jerry, we got the cart door man, Walls, Mr. Walls. Who else? Anyone else? Ice cream. Yeah, they all get together and they go, I'm sick to death of this stuff. And then this is the thing, yeah. There aren't many horror elements at all up to this point. And now this turns into a weird, like, espionage / adventure movie where David like goes around looking to find out what the stuff is. Yeah, and he meets up with Charles. They go to this like town where the stuff like is being made, and sort of like questioning everybody. And nobody wants to answer it. We see a couple of like stuff-based deaths with the stuff coming out of people's heads. It's animated really weird. It kind of like just sort of expands. It reminds you of, like, yeah, expanding foam. We've all stuck a bit of expanding foam in a crevice, haven't we? And it's fun to see it expand. It kind of looks like that. I feel like they've just gone really close on some expanding foam, recorded that, put that in the film. So yeah, while Rutherford's he's investigating it, to his initial horror, he realizes the craze for the dessert is far deadlier than anyone believed. The stuff is actually a living, parasitic, and possibly sentient organism that gradually takes over the brain. How's there so much of it? How's it been created in such huge quantities that now it's like the #1 dessert in the country? And those who eat it turn into bizarre, zombie-like creatures before consuming them from inside, even those empty shelves of their former selves. I mean, you only see this consumer from the inside a couple of times, and it seems like, other than that, the stuff is happy to just zombify people and get them to get other people to eat the stuff, I guess. But a young boy is Jason. He discovers the stuff is alive. And when he sees how it affects his family, yeah, they're proper into it. They're gone nuts for the stuff. I mean, I enjoy a dessert, you know. I enjoy a dessert more than anybody. I can rarely eat a meal of an evening without some sort of dessert, something sweet, just to draw a line under it, something sweet to really satisfy me. But these guys are like sat in front of the TV and like massive things of the stuff. I'm assuming they're not eating anything else. The stuff has become like a main meal for them. So yeah, when Jason sees how it affects his family, they're like, go upstairs and eat this, eat the stuff. He's like, I'll take that to our room and I'll enjoy it. He goes and puts it down the toilet. We've all been there. I think I've put vegetables in the toilet before, or I've like shoveled some vegetables into my mouth that I didn't like so much, and then I've gone, oh, bloody, I need the toilet. Gone upstairs, spat them all out into the toilet. That's right, I've done that. I don't know what that says about me. I'm all right with vegetables these days. So yeah, Jason, when he discovers that, he basically just runs away as well. Oh no, the first thing Jason does, actually, he goes absolutely off his head and destroys like a supermarket display of the stuff. The supermarket display is huge. It lasts like a whole aisle. Every fridge is full of it. There's a massive like pyramid of it. I'm like, hang on a minute, it's in the fridge and it's out on display on the ground. Does it need to be refrigerated or not? There's no real rules surrounding it. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Don't understand. The stuff is very mysterious. Yeah, so he vandalizes that display, which makes Rutherford, like, he sort of it attracts his attention, and that's when he just turns up when Jason's fleeing his house one evening. Get in! Like, he just pulls up just as he's leaving, like he just knew everything was going to pan out the way it did. Yeah, and Rutherford also charms. It says charms here, but befriends initially, I guess. She's an advertising executive. She's one of the people making like an advert for the stuff. Advert's weird. Women in fur coats walking up and down, like we're really sexualizing this stuff. And it did remind me of the way that, like, it's, if you've noticed, especially here in the UK, yogurts or desserts like that are kind of oddly sexualized, and they have been. Obviously, we've gone past the years of like somebody eating a flake in a bathtub, a woman eating a flake in a bathtub, flake, a little bit phallic, in the mouth, always crumbled all down my mouth and making ever such a mess, that sort of stuff. With this, and sorry, talking about the yogurt, now you've got like people like Nicole Shirt Swinger. I always say shirt swinger because it sounds right. Shirt swinger, shirt singer, with like a little blob. What is the obsession? People making yogurt adverts out there. What is the obsession with getting a little blob of yogurt on your nose and can be like, oh no, weird, or like licking the lid? Everything's a bit sexual when it comes to this. I guess there is like always a direct correlation between food and sex for some, but this is kind of odd. The fact that they've in the advert they've got people in fur coats with nothing on underneath, so I think they're, or maybe a bikini, eating this stuff, this like creamy white liquid, creamy white solid. It's weird. What is it? It's pretty disgusting. So she becomes his like partner in, I was gonna say partner in crime, but partner in investigation. Nicole, the advertising executive, and Mo Money, Mo Problems, becomes like his lover pretty quickly as well. And this is the other thing. No disrespect to you, Michael Moriarty playing David Mo Rutherford. Not only do I not believe you as an action man, fighty man, gun shooting man, investigator man, don't believe you're charming Nicole either. I don't know. It's just all a bit awkward. Weird humor. A little bit creepy, actually. There's a few things he says that are a bit creepy. He calls people beautiful, like off the bat, like for no reason other than to be like, hey, beautiful, something like that. And everyone seems to love it. But I'm like, well, 1985, you know, different time, different place, but still, this guy comes across as a bit of a douche. So it's Rutherford and Nicole who team up with the little boy Jason, who runs away from home. And it's all right. They're not going to report him missing because his parents are so into the stuff that they've got nothing else on, you know, nothing else to think about other than when am I getting the next bit of stuff. So they're not going to report him missing. And this trio, and this is the thing, even though there's been tiny little bits of potentially horror, like body horror and stuff, this is still like an adventure film. Like it could be a bit like a Spielberg movie from the 50s. If it was framed like that. Some of the soundtrack makes it sound a bit like that. It's very like upbeat, jaunty music, where adventure music. They infiltrate the distribution operation, which is an organized corporate effort to spread the stuff to eliminate world hunger. I see what they're doing. They're framing it as we're just going to eliminate world hunger. All right, okay. It's not an alien parasitic thing. We're the good guys. World hunger. Every country that's in need, we're going to send over loads of the stuff. People are going to be eating it. It's going to be great. But of course, it's this is the thing. Like, I don't understand who's like heading this up really, because the stuff in itself is the sentient alien thing. Like, you'd think it would have got its claws into someone higher up in the government, or maybe, and they were the ones who were like the big bad or something like that. But you don't really get that. You don't really get that at all. It's odd. All of the bad guys are like unnamed sort of factory workers in yellow like jumpsuits. And what's confusing about this is that at one point Mo dresses all in yellow to infiltrate this place, but he keeps the yellow on for the rest of the film. And there's a bit in the film where like he teams up with Colonel Malcolm Gromit Spears, played by Paul Sorvino. So like as the a sort of offshoot of the military, who help him, and they all go in to take down this corporation from the inside. All the people that they want to kill or capture or stop making the stuff are in yellow. Mo just decides to keep that yellow thing on. I feel like for anybody else who was in the army who hadn't been briefed officially, yeah, this guy, he's with us, but he is going to still wear the yellow. I'd be like, can you just take the yellow off? Because I feel like everyone I'm aiming at and pointing and shooting is in yellow. He's going to come around a corner. I'm going to blow him away. Okay. And but no, for some reason, David Mo Rutherford is still like, I'm going to keep the yellow on. I kind of like it. Weird. Very, very weird. They destroy, like, there's this massive like lake of the stuff inside the place, which they destroy with explosives. And yeah, this military group team up, like killing everybody. and then he transmits a civil defense message for Americans to break their addiction to the stuff, destroy it with fire. And yeah, but as they're broadcasting that message, for some reason, Charlie in the background here, Charles W. Hobbs, or as Chocolate Chip Charlie, as they call him, he gets zombified by the stuff and his mouth goes big and wide and scary. It's a good effect, you know? It is a good effect. I kind of just wanted more of it and for it to like be dialed up even further, because it were those bits that made me go, oh yeah, this is a horror film, isn't it? Forgot about that for a moment. So yeah, he gets zombified. Stuff bursts out his throat. And that's when Nicole and Jason get cornered in the recording booth where they're broadcasting this message. But Rutherford comes in and lights it on fire with like, I don't know if it is a flamethrower. In my head, it's a flamethrower, but is that too on the nose for The Thing? This was 3 years after The Thing. The fact that the very first scene is like them discovering the stuff in the snow, and then now Mo is using a flamethrower, you can see that it is a bit inspired by The Thing in places. The stuff addiction essentially ends after they broadcast this thing. Everybody is seen as like throwing the stuff onto big piles and like burning it all. But this is the thing. Loads of people would have been infected by it. So like pretty much next to nobody would have wanted to. Is it supposed to say that because they've destroyed the factory that the alien sentient mind control stuff isn't viable anymore? It doesn't work? Who knows? Then there's a really, really weird scene where Mo visits the head of the stuff company, Mr. Fletcher. Oh, wait, okay. So even though I said the stuff didn't take over someone in government, there was like a head of the company. Okay. So he basically says, destruction of that mine's not hurt my business. But this is weird because this guy isn't like controlled by the stuff. He's just like a corporate bigwig. He's just like a CEO at a company. So he tells Mo that the destruction of the company has not hurt his business since the stuff, it seeps out from many places in the ground. So I've been using them. But Mo's like, I'm going to find them all and get rid of them all. I feel like Mo is going above and beyond here. He's an industrial saboteur. He's supposed to go in. He's hired by an ice cream company, for God's sake. He's traveling the world, risking his life. And then there's another guy called Mr. Vickers. So we got Mr. Fletcher, Mr. Vickers, Mr. Evans. Oh yeah, so the ice cream person who hired him is now working with Mr. Fletcher. So yeah, they've turned against him. So who's paying him? Who knows? They tell him that they come up with a new product called The Taste, which is a mix of 88% ice cream and 12% the stuff, supposedly enough to make people crave more without it taking over their minds or killing them. But then Mo brings in his secret weapon, which is just a little kid who brings in a box, and then he holds two of the moguls at gunpoint and says, listen, this kid, you don't want to mess with him. And the box is full of the stuff, and he forces them to eat all of it as punishment for the lives that were lost and their greed. And that is when David Rutherford says, are you eating it or is it eating you? Which is, of course, a famous tagline for this movie. Yeah, and they eat loads of it. And then Mo and Jason leave because they hear the police coming. And the film ends with like a scene where we're supposed to be a bit like, oh, what's going to happen now? And we see smugglers selling the stuff on the black market. And one of the smugglers tastes the stuff and says, I don't think he says anything, but in my head he says, yum, 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 delicious, the stuff. And that's that. There was never a sequel, even though it hinted at that. I mean, not being too negative, it probably for the best. I kind of love the concept. That's why I've always meant to check it out. I expected it to be a bit like The Blob, you know, even though it came a few years later as a remake. The Blob remake, I expected it to be like, it's weird, it's schlocky, it's silly, but to be honest, it's like pretty boring. I find that there were long stretches of it, and it's only like 87 minutes long, but I felt that there were long stretches of it where I was a bit like, what's going on? Needed more stuff deaths, needed more body horror, needed more gruesome, horrible stuff coming out of people's orifices. Yeah, I just find it pretty boring. And in terms of genre, it just can't decide what it wants to be. A horror, a satirical like drama, an adventure movie, science fiction as well, I guess. It's all just a bit of a mess, and I just found it pretty boring, to be fair. Pretty boring and not particularly. This film seems to have a load of fans in the horror community, and everyone seems to really rate it. But yeah, for me, maybe it's because I hold the Blob remake in such high regard. This didn't really do it for me. So in terms of a rating, I'm only going to be able to go for I think it's going to have to be a D plus. A D plus. And that sounds really low, but just didn't really work for me. Just didn't really work. And I think with a different lead, maybe someone with a bit more charisma, sorry, Michael Moriarty, I could have seen it working a bit better if it lent into the horror a bit more as well. But that's my rating for that. So tell me what you think of the stuff. If you've seen it, is it one of your favorites? Do you not enjoy it as much? How does it compare for you to things like The Blob? And if you haven't seen it, go and check it out and then come back if you believe it's great and tell me that I'm completely wrong. That's fine. I can live with that. No problem. But thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening here on Patreon to this Horror Hangout Bite Size. And tune in next time for another mini episode. But for now, I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.